Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is appreciate. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you might hear appreciate used is to mean to be grateful for someone or something. Connected to this is the second definition, to recognize the full worth of someone or something. So I feel like we're going to hear this verb appreciate a great deal in the United States because Thanksgiving is this week. And it's a holiday that focuses on being grateful and being grateful for people and things, being grateful for health. Some people have suggested that many of us didn't recognize the full worth of being able to go wherever we wanted at any time before the pandemic that began in 2020. So now we appreciate being able to spend time with our family and friends, maybe a little bit more. A third way you might hear appreciate used is to mean to fully understand a situation. This situation could have some problems or issues, and again, it really means to have a total understanding. Sometimes you're going to hear this used in the negative. Someone did not appreciate, they did not understand fully a particular situation. A fourth way you might hear appreciate used is to mean to rise in value or price. You should know that appreciate is a regular verb. To make the progressive form, we're going to drop the E and add ing to form appreciating. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are made by adding D. Our base verb, appreciate, ends in a T sound, which is unvoiced. And our past tense ending here is going to add an extra syllable. It should sound like this: appreciated, appreciated. Now, we don't have any additional phrasal verbs with our verb of the day, so that's going to allow us to focus on making some sample sentences with our verb of the day, appreciate. Today, we're going to practice the simple present and the simple future and focus on using will. We use the simple present to talk about our habits and routines. We also use it to discuss facts. The thing we need to pay attention to in the affirmative form of the simple present is what our subject is. If our subject is I, you, we, or they, we're going to use the base verb just as it is. But if our subject is he, she, or it, then we're going to add an S to the end of the verb. And you can see that in this example sentence. I have the executive director, so that's one person. We don't know male, female, doesn't matter, but one person. The executive director of the nonprofit appreciates the community's generosity. So we can see that S on the end of the verb. This would likely go to that meaning of being grateful for. Now, if I want to make a negative simple present sentence, my structure is again going to depend on the subject. So if my subject is I, you, we, or they, I'm going to use do, not, and then the base verb. If my subject is he, she, or it, I'm going to use does not and then the base verb. So notice there's no S on the end of the verb in the negative, no matter the form. Okay? Here is another example. Cars don't appreciate. Now, this might be confusing you, but I want you to think back to that fourth definition of the verb, to increase in value. So this is something very commonly said, right? As soon as you drive a new car off the lot, off where it's being sold, right? The value of that car starts to decrease. so it's not increasing. And so this simple present sentence is very much describing a fact. Cars don't appreciate, or we could even say cars don't appreciate in value generally. Finally, if you want to ask a yes or no question in the simple present, start with do or does. Then you're going to have your subject and then the base verb. So again, we're not adding s to the end of the verb here. We're only doing that in the affirmative when the subject is he, she, or it. Here's another example. Do the athletes appreciate their coaches? Right? So here this might be see their value, see their full worth. Now let's take a look at the simple future using will. We know there are many ways to talk about future actions, and we tend to use will to make predictions. We also use it for offers and promises as well. And the nice thing about this structure is that we're going to use will and then the base verb, and that's going to be our structure no matter what our subject is. Okay, let's take a look at an example here. My boss will appreciate the time I've taken to make improvements to this project. So this could be a combination of that first or second definition. They'll be grateful. They'll see the full worth of these improvements. Now, if you want to make a negative sentence in the simple future, we're going to use will, not, and then the base verb. You might hear people use the contraction form of will not, that's won't. You can see that in my example. He won't appreciate your sacrifices until he is much older. Now, this definition is kind of definitely going back to our second meaning of seeing the full worth or understanding kind of that full worth. If you want to ask a yes or no question in the simple future using will, that's the word you want to start with. Start with will, then you'll have your subject, and then your base verb. Here's another example. Will your parents appreciate this gift? Right? So this would very much go back to the being grateful meaning. Now let's take a look at some words that are related to our verb appreciate. The first word is the noun form appreciation, shun on the end there. Okay. Now, this word can have a number of different meanings. We're going to look at 4 today. The first is recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something. An example of how you might hear this used, today's lunch is for Employee Appreciation Day. So this is meant to be a recognition event in showing gratefulness for the good qualities that exist in one's employees. A second, even simpler way to understand this noun appreciation is just to mean gratitude. An example of this, I'll show my appreciation by sending a thank you card, right? So I could put the word gratitude here. I'll show my gratitude. And again, this is this whole idea of a feeling of gratefulness or being grateful. A third way we can use the noun appreciation is to refer to an increase in value. Here's an example of that. This currency has had significant appreciation in the current year. So a large increase in value. A fourth way to use the noun appreciation is to refer to a full understanding of a particular situation. This kind of ties back to that third meaning of the verb appreciate we looked at earlier. Here's an example of this. Our manager's lack of appreciation of the morale problems will only lead to more people quitting. So, in this particular sentence, someone is probably describing that the manager does not have a full understanding of kind of how bad morale is. People are unhappy at their jobs, they don't want to be there, and because this person doesn't fully understand the situation, more people are going to end up quitting their jobs. The next word we're going to look at is the adjective appreciative. This means that someone is feeling or showing gratitude or pleasure. An example of this: the appreciative crowd paid their respects to all military veterans, right? So we can imagine maybe there was cheering, applauding, and done so to share or convey this idea of gratitude for people who have served in the military. The last related word we're going to look at is the adverb appreciatively. So, this is describing an action that is done in a grateful way or in a grateful manner. Here's an example of that. She smiled and nodded appreciatively, right? So, the way she was smiling and nodding, right? Um, was to convey this idea of being grateful. So I feel like I borrowed this sentence from a short story, a piece of literature, kind of describing that feeling. And I think many of us could picture what that might look like in different people or in different characters. Well, I really appreciate you watching these videos. So thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful day.